A career in banking and finance used to be all about economics, accounting, and statistics. Technology has disrupted the industry by revolutionizing banking and payments, and it continues to make rapid advances. A warm welcome to Lavine Hemlani, CEO of Accelerate, who is here to talk to us about the foundations of FinTech, stay on top of the industry, and how to future-proof your skills in years to come. Lavine is passionate about pioneering advanced technology education to empower individuals, enterprises, and workforces with the fourth industrial revolution skills. Welcome, Lavine.
Good afternoon, everyone. Am I loud and clear? Yeah?
You are.
Fantastic. My name is Lavine Hemlani, and I'm the founder and CEO of Accelerate. As LSF rightly pointed out, we are an edtech platform, a marketplace that's upskilling and reskilling workforces so that we can create a better tomorrow by giving skills to enterprises, individuals, and governments in areas like robotics, artificial intelligence, machine learning, data science, and most importantly, creating new skill sets in areas where the future of work is just up and coming. So I want to spend a few minutes telling you a little bit about where we see the future of work, and would love to have some questions towards the end of my chat. So a lot of people don't realize this, but AI, especially when it comes to fintech and banking and that whole area, is already prevalent in areas that you can't even imagine. Everything from self-driving cars to computer vision that drives your phones to medical diagnostics, and most importantly, in a fintech context, trading and robo trading has already permeated, which is having very large implications for labor markets around the world. So just to take a step back and look at the macro, right? What is the fourth industrial revolution? It's a confluence of big data, IoT, and very large amounts of new computer knowledge that allows us to create man and machine, create efficiencies with man and machine in a way that hasn't been done before. This is a very interesting time for us because the previous revolutions, whether it was the second or the third industrial revolution, happened over much longer periods of time, 50 or 100 years, and only impacted one facet of the economy. But what we're seeing right now is with the fourth industrial revolution, 800 million jobs are at risk to some degree of automation, which financial services and blue collar and white collar jobs being at most risk. A big part of why this is so relevant is that most of the data that we see right now that powers these AI engines was created within the past 24 hours. And a lot of people think that AI and machine learning has been in the news for the last, 10, 20, 30, 50 years. But really what's made it very unique and different for financial services industry to go through major digital disruption is this new facet of artificial intelligence called deep learning. So deep learning is impacting labor markets and what we call work across every facet of every job of every economy. It's really interesting to see whether companies in auto or companies in robotics or companies in cyber or companies in fintech insurance are able to use deep learning insights, basically replicating the neural networks that form our brains in ways that allow us to leverage computer vision and natural language processing. So what this means when you think about the future of work, especially in a post-COVID world, is that every organization, whether it's a fintech or a biotech or an edtech, is really just a data organization. And at the heart of each one of these organizations is a data-driven journey. Now, there are organizations that might be in the left-hand side, more traditional businesses that, especially with the advent of COVID, have to go through major culture change, organizational change, workforce change. And then there are those that are already up there that are using data across all their processes, that are using data-driven processes that allow them to be very strategic with how they can add more value to their customers. So if you're someone who's working in financial services, like myself, actually, I started my career in investment banking back in New York. You have to look at the journey that your organization is going through as inevitable on this chart. Are you in a role, or are you in a culture, or are you in an organization that is data resistant? So what can you do to go to the next stage from being data resistant to data aware? right? What are the key bottlenecks and challenges that are holding your company back? If you can start to think about what is holding your role and your company back from moving along that journey from data resistant to data driven, you'll be really, really valuable for that company and help that company build competitive advantage. A lot of people ask, so how does AI or data really create a competitive advantage, right? If every company is a data company, what does that really mean for my job? Do I have a job? When man and machine can come together and create value, whether it's creating more in manufacturing or financial services context, or allowing for labor productivity to be augmented, or uncovering new revenue and profit opportunities that allow for millennials and capturing those opportunities for changing customer insights. This is how AI creates value. So why this is such a big problem and such an interesting topic to myself and to a lot of people is that the education systems that are creating talent and workforces for fintechs and for financial services companies are completely obsolete. It's very interesting that on the supply side, you have millions of jobs that are being displaced, where up to 50% or 100% of what they call work is now going to change, and not within a 10, 20, 30-year time frame, but within just a few years. But that doesn't mean the jobs are going away. It just means that companies are finding it really hard to have the right talent in the right divisions as they become data-driven organizations. On a larger, more tectonic scale, what this means is a massive labor supply and demand mismatch. You have more and more untapped pools of talent with people who have basically irrelevant skills, very limited upskilling opportunities, but have the passion to go learn new skills like data science. You have education systems that don't necessarily bring out the best when it comes to applying machine learning and data science that create real business value. And on the demand side, you have more and more companies that are struggling to find really good talent, but have a desire to become, along that chain, a data-driven business. So one of the things that we've always held is that learning organizations and those from the grassroots level up to the C-suite level that embrace a learning culture, that embrace soft skills, but most importantly, hard skills, learning how data science can augment their workflows, are ones that are going to really accelerate, for lack of a better word, their transformation. When you think about this on a technical literacy standpoint, in order for companies to unleash themselves as AI-driven enterprises and to fulfill their demand for more and more data-driven processes, whether it's data collection or data warehousing, they're really going to need the talent supply, the skill supply, the human capital supply that allows for small win AI projects to turn into much larger in-house capabilities that then support their longer term AI strategy. All of this has to be aligned by some of the larger objectives set by the stakeholders, but increasingly in a post-COVID world, those stakeholders aren't just the C-suite or the shareholders. Those stakeholders are the customers. Those stakeholders are the employees themselves, right? We are all becoming stakeholders in this interrelated world. And in unleashing an AI enterprise, by embracing data science, we can come up with new ways to think about work, which are one, more fun, two, more rewarding, and three, way more productive to achieve value for our stakeholders. So I get asked a lot by a lot of financial services professionals, what next, right? So I have to go learn things. Where do I even begin? One starting point, and again, everyone's on their own journey, so I really encourage everyone to think for themselves, but one starting point is to start small, right? And to look at where you can start to replace workflows that you currently use with VBA or Excel in a financial context with things like Python. Python is really, really versatile, an amazing language because it integrates into so much of what drives financial services today. Whether it's using business intelligence or machine learning and statistics or being connected to distributed systems, Python has a very large community of developers. And Accelerate, for example, we work with a lot of banks and a lot of financial services institutions for them to find that using Python in certain parts of their trading floors or their commercial banking floors actually allows them to uncover insights that they didn't think was possible. It's worth noting that not everyone needs to become a data scientist, right? When I do a talk like this, everyone thinks, so I have to become a data scientist now? I have to go change my entire career in my life? That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is that whatever you're doing right now with Excel or VBA is probably going to be upgraded to things like data science and Python. And within that, it's worth noting that not everyone needs to be a hardcore machine learning engineer. If you are looking into skills like data analysis, that allows you to build more dashboards or to visualize data and be very creative with that. So it's worth noting and having that time for self-reflection of where you can leverage your strengths, right? Some people may not require or be fond of applying data science with a domain knowledge standpoint. They want to just play with the raw data. That could be something like data engineering. So within data science, there's many, many different roles. Just a quick note on who we are. So we pioneer advanced technical education, and a big part of what we're trying to do, especially in Hong Kong and all over Asia, is to empower workforces of the future with deep technical skills. Over the last 3.5 years, we've upskilled and reskilled 10,500 people. And it's amazing to see that anyone that can start small with learning just a few skills in data or artificial intelligence or even fintech and blockchain is able to create a very large impact on their future. The reason why we exist and the reason why I am so delighted to be partnering with LSF Global for this conversation today is that learning skills like data science are really almost like building superpowers. And when you're building superpowers, you can do really great things, not just for yourself or your career or for your company, but even for the world, right? It might be idealistic to think about it, but I have a track record to show that many people from a financial context can start to use machine learning and data science when it comes to ESG trends or, outside of financial services context. How do we use data science to go solve some of the world's greatest challenges, whether it's carbon capture and the climate crisis or in a COVID context, using machine learning for computer simulations and deep learning to try and understand how we can build vaccines quickly. So I encourage you to think about learning these skills in a way that not just allows your career to prosper, but for us to accelerate our impact on the world. Within data science, there are a variety of different roles, and it's really important to see that not everyone needs to have strengths in hardcore statistics and machine learning. If you're someone who's very creative and works in the financial services industry, maybe consider going down the business intelligence and business analytics route. If you're a quant or a trader and you enjoy working very closely with data, then possibly the data science or the machine learning route. The reason why I'm bringing this up is that there are so many new roles and new jobs that are being created every day that it's so important to look at the glass as half full rather than half empty when the future of work starts to emerge. We've been upgrading workforces for the last few years, and we continue to do so with our own platform. And the reason I bring this up is to just say everyone has their own learning journey. And as long as you're pushing yourself forward every day and using these skills in a way that helps your employer and yourself, that's what's most important. And yeah, just to end on a positive note, we've seen thousands of people change their careers in finance, outside of finance. Just because it's a tricky time does not mean you can't start learning today and get a new job or upskill yourself and be a way better, way more effective professional and a way better citizen of the world. Thank you again.
Well, thank you so much, Lavine. A couple of my observations are you were able to take AI and really make it sound meaningful and purposeful for anybody that's not within the fintech industry. I really liked hearing that. We have one question for you. Well, a question from Brandon King. Within financial transformation, finance talent models are changing rapidly. How would you approach a client regarding the adoption of the fourth dimension talent that are having trouble understanding the value of potential hires?
Could you please repeat that just in a more simpler way?
Yeah, I guess this is just trying to understand when you approach a client with regards to your fourth dimension talent, how simple is it to explain the value of that type of hiring?
I think when it comes from an employer standpoint, what they really care about is how quickly are you going to impact my P&L, or how quickly are you going to be productive on day one. So a lot of what we've seen in our track record is showing financial services professionals how to build projects and show that by hiring said person with data science skills, that this is the impact on P&L. Showing projects is a really great way to show value to employers, because it's not just an exam or a course that you did online or offline. It's a real application of the knowledge you have to a real business challenge. Bonus points if you can show a application of data science to that company's particular business challenge.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I hope we've answered your question, Brandon, as well, but thank you so much for your thoughts and insights, Lavine. That was a really, really interesting segment. For many of us who are not, who don't have our teeth sunk into AI, this was really meaningful for us to know how we can make a bigger impact. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Wish you the best.
Thank you.